we have Clarence House.
Yes, it's back for the grand parties.
Yeah, we have Clarence House. So we have Clarence House. So that is going to be happening up there. It's pretty much a Nelson's cocktail. Formal affair. Not so much ball, but at the same time we're going to have some speeches. Sir Rodney, the tourism minister, is expected to address the function as well. And in a formalized sense, we also say welcome to the sailors, make them feel very special. And as the days go by in terms of closing down of Antigua Sailing Week, we say appreciation, express appreciation especially to the sponsors, and say farewell in a very formal way to the captains who brought their vessels to Antigua.
Andy, we have to take a break. It's connected with Dave Lester Payne on Facebook Live, Observer Radio 91.1 on the FM dial. Wherever you are, stay where you are. We're not going any place. We're taking a commercial break.
Remember to tune in for the 5:30 p.m. news broadcast sponsored by Digicel, right here on Observer Radio 91.1 FM.
This public service announcement is sponsored by the Observer Media Group of Companies.
I have a secret. It is really embarrassing, and I'm afraid that he will hurt me if I tell.
Shh! I have a secret, and I can't tell anyone because I'm afraid no one will believe me.
Break the conspiracy of silence that surrounds child sexual abuse by assuring the children in your life that they can talk to you about anything.
This message has been brought to you by the Professional Organization for Women in Antigua Barbuda, POWER, in collaboration with this radio station.
The Cultural Development Division presents the Children's Evening Performance for the second annual National Dance Festival on May 11th, 2017 at the Dean William Lake Cultural Center. Come and support our little ones as they entertain us, as they showcase their talents in ballet, contemporary, liturgical, and other forms of dance. Admission, adults $20, children $10. The Children's Evening Performance. It will be spectacular on May 11th, 2017 at the Dean William Lake Cultural Center, 6:30 p.m. Keeping the art of dance alive.
When most car dealerships talk about huge savings, the largest inventory, and easy financing, all you hear is... But when we talk about it at Honey Motors and Ace Enterprises... Oh yeah! Harney Motors Limited and Ace Enterprises Limited are offering you a one-stop shop for your next new or used vehicle purchase. First, we have easy on-site financing options on all new and used vehicles. Next, we have the widest selection in town. You can choose from the full lineup of Toyota, Kia, Ford, Mazda, Mitsubishi, and SsangYong vehicles. Finally, we have the best promotional offer in town. Free insurance, free gas, free licensing, plates, registration, and free service. We even have monthly payments to suit every budget. So take the first step and visit us at Harney Motors Limited, Factory and American Roads. Telephone 462-1062 and at Ace Enterprises Limited, Sir Sidney Walling on George Walter Highway. Telephone 462-1289. Terms and conditions apply. Don't forget to check us on Facebook for up-to-date deals.
Did you hear the news? What news? Observer Printry is now offering short runs on business cards, funeral programs, posters, and many more high-quality print products at the best possible price. We are located at the VC Bird International Airport, where parking is not a problem. Come visit us for your personalized receipt books, stationery, magazines, calendars, and all your printing needs. Contact us at 480-1750 or 464-9145. Email us at printry@antiguaobserver.com. Observer Printry for all your printing needs.
Hi, this is Dave Lester Payne. Join me every Monday through Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. with Connecting with Dave Lester Payne only on Observer Radio 91.1 FM. Connect with me as I connect you to Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the world.
Thank you for staying with us and connecting with Dave Lester Payne. Just in case you're having some problems with Facebook, you can always go to Antigua Observer YouTube page. We're on YouTube, so, there's some difficulties there. And I guess some other folks are experiencing the difficulties. But we say thanks for staying with us. And, of course, you have us on radio, 91.1 on the FM dial, Observer Radio. Andy, just as we wrap up the segment now, tell us about the event this evening.
Well, as I did say that, as I did indicate that because of the prize giving tomorrow night for Antigua Sailing Week, the final closing party, that we shift our usual Seafood Friday to this evening. So it's Seafood Thursday. Seafood Thursday happening this evening, and it gets started at around 7 p.m. And just all of the usual delights that are available on the Seafood Friday night, we have it. As a matter of fact, I have in front of me the menu. And we have some delicious delights this evening.
Okay.
The usual stuff, because you always get a consistent menu, right? We don't deviate too much because people.
They're coming for an event.
Yeah,
they know what it is.
They know what it is,
Yeah.
right? And they get used to it. So I mean, the seafood pasta, of course, always present. Pizza, seafood combo. We're doing that this evening. If your choice is fish and chips, we have that. Fried fish, of course. I was just in the kitchen. Some good fried fish.
You hang out in the kitchen. Well, you hang out in everything that happens in Dockyard.
I go and look.
You want to make certain that it's been done.
Sure. Lawrence knows that I'm sometimes a little pain, and if you think I'm a pain, you should check Eloise Francis.
Oh yeah, Eloise is a great guy.
Yeah, Eloise, in terms of giants around here as well. That's another giant lady.
Yeah, she needs to be saluted also.
Yeah. So
that's taking place tonight.
Yeah, so that's taking place tonight, and I mean, for Antigua Sailing Week, out here is the place to be.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a question. Just like you to put some emphasis on the fact that, of course, Observer Media Group, we're out here at the officers' quarters in English Harbour, Nelson's Dockyard to be exact. And you hear some conversation within the city limits that the locals don't think that they have the freedom to come on out. So again, give them the open invitation to participate, especially on Saturday.
If you're not mobile.
Well, I think not this evening, because I think the whole of Antigua knows about Seafood Friday.
Okay.
The difference is it's Thursday. What they don't understand, of course, that Sailing Week and on Saturday's event, Dockyard Day is open to the general public.
Just let me
There's
tell
no
you.
admission free.
Yeah, it's absolutely free.
So there's no admission fee.
It's absolutely free.
free.
Yeah, so on Dockyard Day, which is Saturday, May 6th, you cannot afford to miss it. Because first of all, it starts early in the afternoon. We have all the kids' games, all the fun games. We got lots to eat and drink. You'll be seeing a prize giving. Some of the most talented kids in Antigua in terms of their artwork will be on full display. And then going through the afternoon, we have face painting, we have bungee jumping, bounce castles, so bring the kids along. And if you're a parent, well, later in the night, that's for you, because we have the parade coming in from the gas station. We have the exciting beating of the retreat. You'll hear the bursting of the louder cannons. I mean, always an exciting affair for the kids, especially. And then later in the evening, I mean, we have Revel Band, of course. But before that, you cannot afford to miss. You cannot afford to miss the tug-of-war competition. Everybody can participate. That starts from around 3 o'clock. And then, of course, you cannot afford to miss. This has not been a part of Dockyard Day for many, many years.
12 to be exact.
Exactly. You cannot afford to miss. You cannot afford to miss the Greasy Pole Contest. Some of you don't even know what it is. You will find out on Saturday.
Andy, always a pleasure, man. Take care of yourself for the great work that you guys are doing out here in English Harbour and Nelson's Dockyard, to be exact. A pleasure having you here.
Yeah,
Here's hoping that the smooth sailing will continue for Sailing Week 50. We take
really
a break.
appreciate having you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure being here. We'll be right back.
Boy, we living up in town. Hey! Make sure you stay focused, hold your head up, Make sure that you wrap it up and stay safe in life.
Don't forget to love, protect, respect yourself when you go to reggae on the beach and reggae on the hill.
Hi, what's up, guys? Kevin Marshall, affectionately known as Bubbles. Obviously, you live up in your actions to take all the measures possibly that I can to protect myself. And when I say protect myself and my family.
How can you live up? Ways to live up. Get to know if you're positive or not. If you're sure you ain't get checked, you're good.
Together, we all can make the difference by getting tested. Turn up the message. Live up. Love, protect, respect.
The Movement Radio, a program designed to educate us about what it means to be good citizens, working towards a just society.
Every Tuesday from 7 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. only on Observer Radio 91.1 FM.
Hi, this is Dave Lester Payne. Join me every Monday through Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. with Connecting with Dave Lester Payne only on Observer Radio 91.1 FM. Connect with me as I connect you to Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the world.
Thank you for staying with us. Of course, it's Facebook Live Connecting with Dave Lester Payne. We're located at the officers' quarter in historical Nelson's Dockyard. And from time to time, we've heard of so much renovation that's going on around Antigua and Barbuda. And when we look at the historical buildings, they seem to play a major importance to our livelihood here in Antigua and Barbuda. They take us back in the past. And I wanted to speak to, of course, a gentleman, architect extraordinaire. I normally lay that in him, Mr. Edmund Blaze. You know him as the Ark. Welcome to Connected with Dave Lester Payne on Facebook
Good
Live.
afternoon, Dave. It's good to be in this setting. This is an absolutely beautiful place to be having a show.
Yeah,
I
good.
mean, just imagine, we might be sitting down here where Nelson walked by about 100 years ago.
Yeah, that's historic.
That is historic.
Yeah, and we're sitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you look at all these buildings and the renovations, of course, and trying to conserve some of these old buildings, they're all around us in Antigua and Barbuda. What role do you think that play as far as a career for any young man or woman?
Let me say, the first thing I want to say is that every time that I walk into Nelson's Dockyard, you can actually feel the history. If you look at the floors, these are cut stones that are cut in a diamond shape that were set for us to have the finished walkway for this porch. That is a lot of work. And I'm sure that slaves were involved in building some of these buildings. Antigua is very much poised because of its historical artifacts to be able to be one of the premier islands in the Caribbean when it comes to historical renovation of old historic buildings. You have the whole of, well, you just had Clarence House, where they spent millions of dollars to bring it back to how it was. Then you have Shirley Heights, which would take quite a few millions of dollars, but that money would be recouped over the years for tourists who would visit a renovated structure where all the officers used to have their barracks and everything. You have Fort James, which is a diamond in the rough. You have Fort Barrington. You have so many places in Antigua that if we were supposed to focus on historical renovation tourism, we could have quite a few places that are as good or better than the Dockyard that could bring quite a bit of money into the society from tourism, but also historical architecture or historical renovation, renovation of historical architecture is a field of its own in itself. Um, because you can't just go into a building and just start renovating without going back through the archives to find out what were the materials, how they were put together, and things of that nature. It's some of the most expensive architecture is the renovation of historical architecture. Um, that in itself could be something that quite a few people in Antigua and Barbuda tap into as an industry for renovation of historical buildings. Right now, I every time I drive by Government House, I see they have some gentlemen outside that are grinding off all the paint and all the stuff that people had painted over on the original bricks and mortar for the walls of the Government House. And what I notice is that they're using things like grinders and things like that, which they should not really use. They should be using some kind of a high pressurized water to
That's
take
for the bricks
off,
itself.
yes,
and
to
the
take
paint.
off the paint, to take off the old paint, so that they don't damage the bricks. When you use a grinder to take it off, you're damaging the bricks. You're damaging the points for the mortar between the stuff. Now, when you're renovating historical buildings, what you try to do, because many of them were done before we have all these modern materials. They used to use lime and mixed with the mortar. That's why you see some of the old buildings, you will see it have something like a white latians coming out of it, because that's the lime still coming out of the mortar. When it gets wet or damp, it comes out more profusely. When you are repairing those things, you have to have special mortar mixes that you need to put back in to complement the material, because if you put in some of the materials that what we use nowadays, they damage what you're trying to reclaim. Same thing with wood. A lot of the wood that was used back in the day was a lot of pitch pine. That's why they actually can survive termites so well, because termites hate that bitter taste that comes out of the gum, out of the pitch pine.
Pitch point, yeah.
Yeah, and if you remember when we were growing up, that's the only kind of wood that they used to use.
Pitch point wood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, for everything. And that was because that was the best wood that you could use for building in these areas.
And the
because
shelf lives, and because of the sea and the atmospheric condition that we have.
Yeah,
that would have been the best.
And because of the fact that we're a pretty warm climate, the wood stays moist, and when you have wood that stays moist, another thing that we see a lot happening nowadays is that the paint that we're using now to paint wood stops it from breathing.
The paint stops the wood from breathing.
Yeah,
so that means the wood decay faster.
Exactly.
Wow. That's why you'll have to do a lot of repairs on wooden houses.
Yeah,
more often than you'd plan to.
The wood itself also is not of the same type.
It's not pitch pine.
That we used to have before. You get a lot of soft wood. It's what grows faster and easier because of the fact that the world now has 7 billion people more. There are more people that need houses.
And the forests are being depleted faster than they can grow the tree.
Everything has to be produced in quick time. From food to the air we breathe has to be produced in quick time too. Otherwise, some people don't get any air to breathe. You know, you have places in like Mexico City where they have so much toxic air because of all of the factories and stuff like that. You have China. You had about 2-3 months ago in China, they were selling air bottled from Canada.
Air bottles from
Yeah,
Canada.
they were somebody who was a very ingenious entrepreneur was bringing in bottled air from Canada and selling it in China, where you would open it and you would take a whiff of it because the air in certain parts
so toxic.
was so toxic.
Wow.
So what we need to do in Antigua as it relates to historic renovation of our old buildings is to generate an industry where you can, because a lot of times when these buildings were built, there's something that the old carpenters called mortise and tenon. Mortise and tenon happened because there were no nails. So you had to have the wood cut in a certain way, and the pins that were put into the wood were wooden pins.
You know, some of those structures still last longer than the modern ones that are using the nails.
And the reason why they would last longer is that when you have a galvanized nail and you drive it into wood, sometimes it loses some of its galvanization because of friction. So as soon as a galvanized nail loses its galvanization, it begins to rust. So rusting is taking place and you're not even aware of it.
Because you're in the premises. You're living all as well.
And it's hidden because now it's in the wood. And all that has to happen now is that the wood gets wet from rain or whatever it is, and the rust does exacerbate, and it increases, and so therefore the buildings are not as strong as they used to be, because when you drive a wooden spike between a mortise and a tenon, which is, they have different cuts, you have beak tail, you have bird tail, you have all kinds of different connections. Usually when you're doing a wooden house, when you get to the corners, you have to have corner bracing, those kind of things we don't do anymore.
Yeah.
You have jack studs, which are put at a 45 degree when you have the corner, so that the corners are braced properly. Sometimes you have X bracing at the corners for X studs, depending on whatever it is. And
have you designed any of those properties recently?
We
folks would have wanted to build a house like they used to in the past.
Well, the reason why a lot of people don't want to do that, because it's expensive.
Okay.
It's expensive because and you have to have the person who has the skill. And a lot of people don't have that skill anymore. We renovated some old historical buildings in the Virgin Islands, and they brought in carpenters from Denmark whose fathers taught them certain skills about building. And a lot of these buildings were built by the Danish in the Virgin Islands, and they sent in these people to actually work with local craftsmen to teach them these skills, so that they can begin to nurture them and to pass them down inside the community, so that when other buildings are being renovated as historical buildings, that you have local people who can actually help to do this work. And it's in the Virgin Islands, there's a historical society that has a book that's about maybe 3 inches thick that actually tells you what and what you cannot do when you are doing a historical renovation. And if you don't follow what they say, you are cited or the work is stopped. So you have to get specific people who are actually trained in these old ways of building. And it works out well, because when you have young people who understand these old ways of building, it actually lets them understand why the structures are as strong as they are, and why things knit together to form the strength of a structure. Because a structure cannot be, there's always this saying that says a structure is as weak as its weakest link. And most of these buildings were built so that everything tied into each other to form something like a skeleton. And so therefore it was strength by designation of different pieces and joints. And
What do you think for us here in Antigua and Barbuda, especially for the sites that you named, to develop these things? What sort of training is necessary? When they did Clarence House, most of it was done locally. The renovation of Clarence House. I was on site on a few occasions when they were cutting stones. When they did get into the building, and Mr. Murphy's going to be on with me later. When they did get into the building, they realized they were more damaged than they thought. The same thing with the Anglican Cathedral, where they thought that, wow, the things that after they would have taken down the structure and realized the damage that they were not aware of. How do we train young men and women in Antigua and Barbuda for some of those skill sets? Where did that get that level of teaching?
There's got to be a program, Dave. Like anything else, the government has to have some semblance of establishing the base. It may not be a government-driven program, but it has to be a government-assisted program. If somebody comes in and says, hey, we want to teach some young people about how to do proper historical renovation, then the government, in their wisdom, should facilitate however that program should be. Maybe they may not have to put in money, but maybe they may have to provide an old building for that, maybe a historic building that could be renovated to actually house the program. Anything that is done on a scale like that has to be government facilitated. Even if it's private, you're going to need some kind of a government input in it to facilitate the getting it off the ground and actually engendering it to be more productive and to keep on growing. Once you get these young people interested in that, then you have to give them the vehicles for them to actually practice their skills. So that means you're going to have to start finding historic areas for them to renovate.
But there's lots in Antigua and Barbuda.
There is
and the
so
apprenticeship can start
much.
right in these buildings.
There is so much that could be done in Antigua. The thing about it is that a lot of people usually shy away from historic renovations because it's big money. But what you also find is that there are many societies and companies that actually would give money, like they did for Clarence House, to see these renovations happen. But they definitely don't want their money being squandered. They definitely don't want their money being wasted, and they don't want their money to go towards not properly renovating the structures. So it has to be something that's holistic. Like I said, the Historical Society in the Virgin Islands has this book that you have to follow these certain statutes and these certain ways of renovating different types of historical structures.
If you had to say, what would you do to historical Fort James? There's a building, not the one that we know that they house the restaurants in. There's an area to the east of that.
To the back of it.
Yeah, where they have those cannons.
Yes.
Yeah. What would you suggest they do with something like that? Because that seems to be a money maker.
The first thing that they need to do is to get Dr. Murphy involved and let him get as many of the old images and the old drawings and the old anything, pictures, drawings, details of the old structure to see what was existing. Because one of the things that you always try to do when you're doing a historical renovation is to bring the structure back to as close as possible to its original. Then you can determine what is the use you want for it, whether you want to use it as a public assembly area, whether you want to use it as one of the places on your historical tours for tourists. Each one of these sites can actually generate T-shirts, cups, whatever it is that can be sold to generate funds to continue to maintain it. It's an industry within itself all over the world now, and that's historical renovations and historical tours. You have them in South Carolina. You have them in Savannah, Georgia. Has a big industry as it relates to renovating historical structures and having them as part of the historical milieu of the area. It's a big industry because there are a lot of people who want to go and visit a place and learn about the history. And I don't think we do a very good job of actually identifying these sites and having a long-term plan to renovate them, because you may not be able to renovate them in 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, but
it has to be an ongoing program.
Well, what you can what you usually do is phase it so that as parts are completed, you open them for use and to generate funds
to continue
that would
the rest
help
of the work.
The rest, but it has to be a plan. And there's one thing I find in the Caribbean that we don't like to do. We don't like to have a long-term planning for anything. We like the quick fix.
Yeah, but for
we like the
buildings
3
like
year
this, you need to have the funds for the quick fix.
Well, the thing about it is that you can't have a quick fix for anything. I think that that the Governor General, Sir Rodney, right now is doing quite a good job of trying to get the old government house done in parts, in phases. And that's how you usually have to approach the renovation of historic buildings, because they can take up a lot of money. They can take up quite a bit of money.
It's quite obvious with the Anglican Cathedral.
Well, I don't think they realized how big a job that was until they took it on.
Yeah, because they realized there was things that were decaying in the building they were not even aware of until they went in there.
The
floor was falling in, and when they do that, then they discover all sorts of things.
They discovered that below the floor there are things that it's not just the wood on the floor alone that was rotten.
They didn't know that.
Yeah,
and it has become.
Well, that building has been there for over a century, right? So, I mean, if it's still in existence and it's still being used, that in itself is a testimony of how well it was built. And so therefore, and remember that in those days, they didn't have as many pieces of equipment as they have now to actually build buildings. There were no cranes. There weren't. You had to build your own rigs. You had to build your own tackle and blocks, and you had to do things like have balances where one side is heavier than the next, so you could swing it around to get big stones up on high. You had to load one side with ballast so that you could lift. So it was a
hard
challenge
task then, but they accomplished their task. And speaking about accomplished tasks, we're going to wrap up this segment. But, of course, you've got some new music on the block. And we're going to talk to you later. Next week, we'll try to get you in. And before you leave Antigua and Barbuda, so we can get some of those music in. Thanks for being with us today, Edmund. And, of course...
It's always good to see you, Dave.
A pleasure.
And I wish this was the stage for all of your shows.
No, we got to move back into the Observer's building, Observer Media House building. On occasions, we will be on the outside. But again, thanks for accepting our late invitation, and thanks for being with us this afternoon. It's connecting with Dave Lester Payne live on Facebook. I don't know if the problem is still on Facebook, but if it's a problem, you can always go to YouTube, Antigua Observer, and you got us, and we're still beaming to you wherever you are around the world. Stay with us. We take a break. We'll be back with more.
This is Observer Radio.
Join us on the Birthday Club every Monday to Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 6:45 a.m. Observer Radio wishes you a blessed and happy birthday.
Antigua Sailing Week's 50th edition. 7 days of exceptional racing in various classes. Chase the race from the best locations. Party on the beach, a different one each day. Dance to soca, reggae, or to the beat of your own drum. 7 race days, 7 beach days, 7 party nights.
Are you up for the challenge?
The 50th edition of Antigua Sailing Week, April 29th to May 7th.
Book at sailingweek.com now.
Stay locked to connecting with Dave Lester Payne right here on Observer Radio 91.1 FM.
Thanks for staying with us. Of course, our broadcast emanating from Antigua Sailing Week 2017, the 50th anniversary. We're operating out of the officers' quarters in historical Nelson's Dockyard. And when we speak of historical, we've got a gentleman with us, of course. I think he read the book on Antigua historical renovations and the things that he's been doing, architectural design. Well, he may not build it, but he'll continue to dig up and tell you what you had before. Mr. Murphy, how are you?
Still here.
You're still here. Now, you know, today's the first time I'm realizing that you have an office right here in the building?
2.
You have 2 offices.
Museum work,
yeah.
UNESCO work, National Park work.
Well, we got a lot to cover this afternoon because we want to give them the true picture. Now, before we dive into those things, Sailing Week 50, you've experienced lots of Sailing Week out there.
Oh, yeah.
How has it, of course, transcended into different phases of Sailing Week? What are some of the transition that was made?
Well,
some of the things
changed.
that are different
It's completely changed.
when you remember it from how it started.
Well, I remember all the boats were there together. The old classic boats, everything was there together.
Because we have the classic
Yeah.
the
But
regatta
it's all
that's
separated
different
out
now.
Yes.
How did it all begin?
I have no idea.
Well, what do you know now? What do you
Okay.
know of it? Yeah.
What I know of it is, I mean, I used to hang around here with Mr. Nicholson back
Mhm.
then, and he took me out on his boat during one of the sailing weeks. And I used to sail with Tom Patterson another sailing week.
You sailed with these guys?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You had
And,
any work to do on the boat while you were sailing? They give you any assignment?
You don't go to the boat to relax.
I just want to make certain. Yeah.
They come off, you can hardly walk.
Okay.
But
good.
it's so I've been sailing quite a few. Sailing week, I must admit, is not my favorite. I'm a classic person. I love the classic regatta. I love the beautiful old boats. So I sail in the classics. In fact, I entered this year.
You entered this
Yes,
year?
I'm a classic
You have
boat
your
and I
own-
entered.
So how you didn't tell us where was your boat? We were out here taping the boats and we didn't know that you had a boat.
But the classic is the best kept secret, so we kind of keep things.
Oh my goodness. We were out here
Yeah.
for the classic. I think this is the 30th anniversary of Antigua Classic Regatta. And we had a few shots of some of the classics. They're awesome stuff. You know, but if I knew that you had a boat participating, I'd seek you out and sit down on the boat and do it. It's not too late. We'll find the boat and we'll do it. Or so we continue.
Yeah, but so to be sailing week has changed. It's now more competitive. It's separated out, and you have more professionals, I think, in the business. Before it was a sort of many years ago, it was sort of a party atmosphere. You know, you go there, everybody having a good time. You're still having a good time, but now it's much more serious.
More
I mean, the kind
competitive.
of boats you're using now, you have to plan what you're gonna do well in advance. You don't just sail a stack. No, you know, these boats are really they're responsive. They're fast. I mean, now you're seeing both generations of boats that are sort of coming out of the water, and they're so quick. It's a complete different technology to, you know, way back when in the beginning.
Now, when Sailing Week, well, I can't take you to the start, but from what you know of Sailing Week, when did we start having the emergence of all these sailors coming from all over the world?
Well, again, if I remember right, Sailing Week was sort of created to sort of almost extend the season, the holiday season, the yachting season, to give the hotels more business, and that's probably why it was initially owned by the Hotel Association. But it was sort of the end of the sailing season, almost like the big party before the next, and all the boats would go off in the different directions, and they come back again next season, next winter. So it was almost like a farewell. But now I think it is that to some extent, but there's so many other regattas. I think Sailing Week is just a part of a massive
not just Antiguan agenda, but Caribbean agenda. And you have people like Bernie Wong, Evan Wong. You know, he sails in every single regatta. There's 20-something regattas through the Caribbean. You
And
know?
he sails all.
Oh, he don't miss anything, man. He there for everything. It's real love punishment.
It's punishment. They're having fun. They're having fun, Reg. They're having fun.
Not to me. More than one regatta a year is too much.
Yeah, but if it enter all of these regattas.
Yeah, and these guys are really serious. I say it's a different generation, it's a different mindset. It's you're looking at professional sailors now, and the young Antiguan sailors are going to make a big mark because they're now emerging, and that's what I'm looking forward to see where we're going to be in the next, say, 20 years.
As it evolves, yeah. Knock on wood. Speaking about knock on wood, here we are you were part and parcel of many of the things that happened here. We know for a fact of the Clarence House, the refurbishing of Clarence House. We know for a fact that you were in, I'm trying to remember, Turkey? Was it Turkey?
Yes, that's for the World Heritage meeting.
With the World Heritage meeting. Of course, and at the same time you were there, they had, of course, rioting on the streets. They were trying to take over a government when you were there.
Yes, they had a coup.
I had a coup.
An attempted coup.
An attempted coup. Well, who knows?
Yeah.
They had a coup. Some folks say it was a fake coup. But
well, I'm in that camp as well, but you see where he's gone since.
Yes.
Yes.
It has transcended to so, but what I want to get at is your involvement, first with Clarence House. I spoke to Blaze, who you know well,
Yes.
Edmund Blaze,
Yeah,
who
we
you
went to
know
school
well.
together.
And we were talking about how do we get the young people of Antigua and Barbuda, the school leavers, because obviously it takes a special skill. We have the ruins around Antigua and Barbuda for developing these ruins.
Yeah.
And they become an economic value. Someone has to start somewhere. We can't always wait on the person who gave the big money for Clarence House. What is your take and how do we do this?
Well, until we realize that heritage pays big time. Heritage tourism continues even through the worst. I mean, there's still heritage tourists going to Turkey, even though Turkey is a difficult area right now. There's still heritage people who travel for heritage sites is a different mindset. These people want, they're more hardy kind of a tourist. They're not the fluffy ones lay on the beach all day long. These are people who want to learn history. They want to get into community. They want to, it's community tourism, cultural tourism. And heritage is a big attraction for them. So when you look at what potential Antigua has for heritage, we've never really capitalized on it. And we've lost so much of it just to begin with. And my answer to your question would be, we don't respect our heritage. We don't look at heritage sites. I mean, when last you see a school going to visit a heritage site, and I'm going to talk with the little kids. They go as kindergarten or they go as prep 1 and prep 2, but you don't see any teenagers or any grade, we call them now, 10, 12, you don't see them going to heritage sites. You don't see them. They're locked into the CXC curriculum, and that's all they do. I don't think heritage or history is even taught unless it's an option at the senior levels in school anymore. So when you graduate from school, you don't know anything about your history. You don't know anything about your heritage sites. You don't care. So you get into office now as a minister or as a policymaker. You give what? But why am I bothering with that rubbish? I mean, nobody even talk about it. You don't know anything about it. It's blissful ignorance. But yet the potential for heritage and the potential for our...
So we have natural resources there that we can capitalize upon.
Exactly. So it's seen as, not worthy because it's never been looked at. And you just don't blame people. You can't blame people because they don't know. They've just never been exposed to it. Most Antiguans have no idea what we have in this country. We have fortifications, shipwrecks, heritage sites, archaeological sites, pre-Columbian sites. They have no idea. And so to them, it's a big mystery when they hear these things. But yet when you travel, first place you go is the local museum overseas. But how many come to our museum? You see, we have a culture that sort of really appreciates where we are, where we're coming from, and where we're going to go. And we can't have a balanced, sort of how do I put it, knowledge base unless you really come to grips with that.
It has to be taught in school.
It has to be, and it's just not.
And
not just us, eh? We had a seminar here last year with the OECS and some of the French islands, and it's a UNESCO program. And we looked at what's been taught and how many kids and what age are they being taken to visit historical sites and heritage sites on each island. And it's the same thing throughout the entire Caribbean. And we're losing a generation of young men with all of standing on the corner, their pants falling off. I mean, where are we going with that? They don't seem to be a disinterest. The people don't really seem to care as much. And I think a lot of it has to do with, self-worth, our history, our heritage. I mean, we don't seem to be, that has to have you have to really appreciate who you are in life and so you can get an idea where you're going. And history is a big part of that, and your heritage.
Yeah, what's amazing is that from where you sit here in Antigua and Barbuda, you have students coming from all over the world to do internship with you.
Yes.
Here in Antigua and Barbuda. How did this start?
Well, started when I was a grad student back in 1993. I needed to I needed a lot of help to get what I need to get done. I realized Antigua is being developed faster than things were being saved, and we're losing sites. Back then, we had over 200, Arawak villages.
200.
Yeah. No, I don't think I can find 10.
But before I
So
want to segue
so
into this. Before you continue, there was something that was destroyed quite recently. What sort of village was that?
A lot was destroyed, but I only mentioned the one big site, the Coconut Hall prehistoric. It's a late period Arawak site. There's still some pockets of it still there, but a lot of it is sort of.
But the reason I was destroyed is because they were not aware of what was there.
Exactly. Right back to that again. People don't know. We just don't know.
So how do you, in your space, sort of find a way to find these things and mark them? And let the general builders and construction team know where these things are.
Well, I try to work closely with the DCA, but the thing is, it's great for built heritage. You see it. So they'll call me quick and say, look, there's a mill or there's something. What is this? But for sites which have no structures, no surface remains, everything is subsurface. Like Arawak, I take it to Indian Creek right now, and you see nothing but Cassie bush. And you start digging, and 6 feet down, you're still digging up ancient pottery and Arawak bone, people's skeletons, and it's where they lived, and it's where everything they owned is still in the ground.
Mr. Murphy, we're going to take a break, and I'm going to take you back to the point where I stopped you to ask you about the destruction of the recent find after they realized what they were doing. But, of course, this is Connecting with Dave Lester Payne. We're live at the officer's quarters in Nelson's Dockyard. We're on YouTube also. We'll be back. Tell you more.
Missed the game last night? Need your sports update? Tune into Good Morning Jojo on Observer Radio 91.1 FM every Monday to Friday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
What store do you walk into when there's a sale? And hear this.
My brother, big sale, 20% off. Yes, I give you a good price because you're my brother.
It's a huge sale at Cool and Smooth. Ladies' shoes, buy one, get one free. Men's dress shoes, buy one, get one free. Children's shoes, buy one, get one free. Brand name shoes, 20% off. 20% off in appliances and household items. Jordan Air Force, 20% off. Men's jeans, buy one, get one free. Short pants, buy one, get one free. Ladies' dresses, buy one, get one free. Ladies' bags, 20% off. 20% off on furniture. And 20% off bedspread sheets. So you see, my brother, it's all happening at Cool and Smooth.
Join Darren Matthew Ward from 7 to 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays for a comprehensive, professional, and in-depth discussion on news items making headlines in Antigua and Barbuda, across the region and around the world.
I feel like celebrating a little every day. I'm here, so I'm not waiting. There's no time like today. There's a joy inside of me so sweet I can't explain. All I know, this is my day. Yeah. I can taste the freedom. That's what I'm needing. I can taste the freedom. Hey, hey, hey. Taste the freedom. That's what we're all needing. That taste the freedom. Hey, hey, hey. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Stay locked to Connecting with Dave Lester Payne right here on Observer Radio 91.1 FM.
Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Reginald Murphy is still here with us. And, of course, there's so many things that we can learn about Antigua and Barbuda when Mr. Murphy's on. But the fact that we are at historical Nelson's Dockyard, the fact that you would have identified certain things in Antigua Barbuda through your work and the development of your work, and we're talking about the children not visiting museum, we're talking about not exposing our children from the early age to the historical things about Antigua and Barbuda. All the way through school.
They should get it as a teenager as well. When you're leaving school, you should be aware of what your heritage is all about, and what your history is all about, and you should know what sites you can go to. And so, so it'll give you a better perspective on your own country. As an adult, making decisions about your country.
What motivated you to this? What motivated you to this?
Well, I mean, in history, we all do the same thing. We learn about Columbus and Alfred the Great and all these kind of things. And along come this crazy-looking tall white man in my classroom one day, Desmond Nicholson. I started with the Archaeological Society, and I thought, hey, here's a chance to get away from school for a day or two. Go join him in the bush. And so we went out to Cade's pineapple field. And
That's where the black pineapple?
Right.
Okay.
And he said they're just plowing it, and he wants to do a survey. So he walked with 3 of us. And we walked up and down the fields picking up artifacts. And you know, the fact that you can realize suddenly you pick up an axe or a piece of pottery, beautifully ornate, and you realize this is history. You know, something you can touch and feel. It's not just something you read about in a book. And when you do, and the research, and I got deeper and deeper into the research, and when I started to realize that the written history doesn't always match the reality. So archaeology was a fantastic way to sort of, I call it shaking the historical tree.
Well, the fact is the history that they write would be the history
Exactly.
they want us to read about, not the real history the things that exist
Exactly.
for us in Antigua and
Because the history is
Barbuda.
written by is his story.
The winners, the victors always write the book.
Exactly. So archaeology is I call it forensic history.
Very much so. And while you get in there, and you would have unearthed many things in Antigua, but the fact that he took you, what follows after that? Because you wanted to get out of the classroom, but that was more classroom than you thought you would ever get.
Exactly. And but once you're out with him, and you realize now in the summertime, you know, I was working with my father, yes, but I could still go and work with not just Nicholson, but field schools were coming from places like Yale and Tulane and
They were coming to
overseas.
Antigua.
They were coming to Antigua, but everything they found in those early days were taken away off the island because we had no museum, we had nowhere to put all this stuff. And eventually, when we started complaining, they started leaving the stuff with us. So Nicholson had his house full of stuff. I had my house full of stuff. So that's what the museum was formed, because we had to get all that stuff out of our houses and into a public domain, because it don't belong to us. They belong to the people. And so that's what the museum was started, with, you know, concerned citizens, led by Desmond Nicholson. And so it's, again, it's not just, when you work with people, these university students, so highly focused, and as you're excavating, you realize how much you can learn. You're just digging in the dirt. I mean, you can go dig a hole in your yard and all you see is a hole. But when you start to look at the layers, you look at how the soil is formed, you look at what the soil is made of, you look at everything from the pottery to the food remains. And I think we're lucky because our soil is not heavily acidic. It's more alkaline to neutral. So it's fantastic preservation you don't find anywhere else in the Caribbean. So I can take you and dig a hole and find fish bones 1,000 years old. You know, but you just don't see it because you're not trained to look for it. But they're there. And so Antigua has been a beacon for a lot of young archaeologists. And we have trained maybe 30 or 40 a year since 1993.
But you're training them and they're leaving Antigua and Barbuda. What about the local folks?
Well, look at the other side of it. We now have a network of every university, every college, every place you go to, I walk in, there's somebody who know me.
Yeah, but
and Antigua is on the forefront.
What I'm looking at is the benefit to the young ones in Antigua and
Yeah.
Barbuda. How can they get into a field like this?
There's one in my office right now, degree in history and archaeology from Jamaica.
Yeah.
She's now come back and she started off in school, coming and visiting us in field schools.
But
and she's now my apprentice, and she's going off to do graduate studies now.
I get back to the point, but
Yes.
she's from Jamaica.
No,
Where
no,
are the
no.
Antigua?
She's from Antigua.
She's from Antigua.
She studied in Jamaica. Okay,
Okay.
can't learn it here. She did at UE in Jamaica. But she's now in my office, Desley Gardner.
Okay, so that's a
So we have
good
one.
thing for us.
And there's a second one in England.
Mm.
And there are 2 more who live up in Piggott. So she comes to all my digs every summer. She's about 11 or 12 now. So we're slowly getting...
How old she is?
She's about 11 or 12.
Wow. So there's a future for her there.
And she can dig a hole. You're surprised how fast. And it's not the speed, it's the knowledge. And when you're young and you're fresh and eager, you see things that old timers don't see anymore. You know, 'cause we have our fixed idea of what we're looking for. But these kids see everything. And so it's great. It sort of refreshes you. And they're closer to the ground as well. So
It's connected with Dave Let's Payne on Facebook Live, Mr. Reginald Murphy. I mean, when we talk about the historical value of Antigua and Barbuda, you may be having problems to get us on Facebook, but guess what? You'll get us on YouTube. It's Antigua Observer, and just go right there, do the necessary research, and you'll find us. We're emanating from officers' quarters in historical Nelson's Dockyard, and a gentleman who have turned the pages in this place and think he knows every inch of this landscape. And we'll get into that in a while. But the fact is that children in Antigua and Barbuda are now getting involved.
Yes,
And
slowly.
And the fact is, it will be a good thing for us here in Antigua and Barbuda. I spoke to Mr. Blaze about the ruins that we have around us in Antigua and Barbuda. In fact, quite recently, if not, this morning, I heard that they were looking afoot, whereas they would be passing legislations to make some other sites of Antigua and Barbuda duty-free and they're looking at areas that can be developed. You have to have a master plan of the things that you think can be developed with the ruins that we have around us in Antigua and Barbuda.
To me, it's an added attraction to any site to have historical ruins on it. I mean, you develop it accordingly, and it adds interest and history and depth to that site. I mean, I think anybody would set up a sterile hotel on the beach down here compared to one that has a historical component. The people who are staying there, they want to know, hey, this is a really interesting place, and they tell their friends about it when they go back, as opposed to I laid on the beach for a week and drank at the bar, and that's it. So to me, it adds quality and
Add substance to your visit.
Exactly.
And then you'll be able to sell it even for a bigger bitch. That money comes in big.
Yeah, I mean, it adds to the site, and you're creating jobs too. I mean, you're creating high-quality jobs. Remember, the digging is only like, for every week you dig in archaeology, you have about 5 to 10 years of research and analysis. It all piles up and backlogs on you, so that's why we need a whole army of people. So it creates jobs for the future. Kids will be analyzing stuff that we're digging now in years to come, because we can't finish it all, and every new generation comes up with new methods and ideas. I mean, there should be an archaeologist too in every government department, from agriculture to what you call it, DCA, because it's part of survey work. It's part of, when you're surveying, you know, hey, look, there's an archaeological site here. You can map it, put it on your master plan. Same thing DCA, when a plan comes in, they say, hey, look, flag this one. There's a plantation here or Arawak site there. Get the team out, check it out. That's what they do in Jamaica.
But don't they have you in all these things, don't they? How does one person...
They call me when there's something on the surface.
But what you're saying, that every division...
And we go and check it out.
Those divisions should have...
Yeah. Our job is not to stop a project. All we ask is for enough time to mitigate, to take out what we can, to save it for our history. If you want the privilege of destroying that site, you should also pay for it. And again, a good example is the Sunwing project.
Yeah, you had a good recent relationship. Tell me about that.
Well, they bought this land, and they want to know what is on the land. Because that's the first thing you do in North America when you buy something, especially in Canada, where they came from. And so we looked at it. I said, look, there's 2 prehistoric sites that I know of. I mean, so we need to do the survey work. And they said, go ahead. So I brought in a team of people who's experts at that time period. And we did all the work, and now everybody's happy. We've saved the information for Antigua. We have added to our historical background. We've added to our museum content. And they have now clear to build, and they have a lot more information about their property than just it's a nice beach.
And the fact is they can sell this to the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, but what were some of the things that you would have discovered on the Sunwind project?
Well, we discovered that there was a whole set of late period ceramic age sites. People were
ceramic.
We call it because it's the earliest people didn't have pottery, but the Arawak people had pottery. So this is a way of separating the two cultures, and they had both on that beach.
They had
both people. They had a site. They're going back to about 2000 BC. 2 sites, in fact, going back beyond 2000 BC. BC. You're talking like 4,000 years old.
Here in Antigua and Barbuda.
Here in Antigua. And and they had one in the middle, which is composed of a lot of small campsites where people probably camping for hundreds of years over generations as they came in. We found a lot of species of marine creatures that don't exist anymore. Can't remember the names off the top of my head, and some of the things you're finding scallops, these big scallop shells, the size of this pad, and wilks, the size of this pad. I mean, I don't know how you eat something that big and tough.
The little wilks that we would have...
Imagine a little one about 2 inches, you can hardly chew that. Never mind something the size of a conch. I mean, you can hardly eat that. It'd be so tough, but they had them there. So it shows how environment has changed.
Yeah.
So, but we take it one step further. We'll take that shell, and we'll do the analysis in it, and we'll learn from the isotopes that we can see. Because when the animal builds its shells, it's taking in stuff from the environment immediately. And from that, you can extrapolate things like salinity, fresh water. You can... Even the scientists will even tell you the temperature. Because this creature had to, live in that unique environment. Again, it's not my area of specialty, but I have specialists who come and do that. And so we're developing a climate profile of the island throughout time as we study these shells. So again, like I say, 2 days of digging and you got years of research for somebody to come along as things get invented and continue.
Was it a 2-day period that you spent in the area?
No, we spent a full week there. And we went back again over the Easter for phase 2. Over the whole Easter weekend. So when you guys having fun and in church and all that kind of thing, I out in the sun digging.
Oh, wow. And phase 2 was like what?
Phase 2 was when they decided where they're going to, it was important enough to continue again. And we decided, well, look, it's not enough to really to call in back the team and to do it. So I just got unfortunately, my family who get roped into every dig. They have no choice. And I got my friends out who are trained, and we go back. We went down there. We spent 3 more days, just recovering what we wanted to recover from. Because we saw what was there, so we said, okay, look, we need to hit here and here and here before they build there, because that's the most important spots. So that's what we did. And we didn't charge the developer for that. Again, we like to work with them.
Yeah, because you also got artifacts from that dig.
Yes.
Okay, and we will now be able to have those displaying in our museums here in Antigua and Barbuda. Well, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with Mr. Reginald Murphy.
Tune in to Observer Radio 91.1 FM, where a panel of experts analyze the issues that made the headlines right here on The Big Issues every Sunday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Ready for that next step in your life? Ready to become a homeowner? Now is the time. Now is your time. Become a homeowner on your terms. With an Eastern Caribbean Amalgamated Bank, build your mortgage loan. Choose the rates that suit you. Choose the terms that you want. With an Eastern Caribbean Amalgamated Bank Build Your Mortgage Loan, you choose. Find out how by visiting us or calling 480-5462 today. Take matters into your hands and build your mortgage with ECAM. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us for the 7:45 a.m. news broadcast sponsored by the Antigua Commercial Bank, only on Observer Radio 91.1 FM. Join us for the 6:45 a.m. news broadcast sponsored by Flow, right here on Observer Radio 91.1 FM.
The Cultural Development Division presents the Children's Evening Performance for the 2nd Annual National Dance Festival on May 11th, 2017 at the Dean William Lake Cultural Center. Come and support our little ones as they entertain us, as they showcase their talents in ballet, contemporary, liturgical, and other forms of dance. Admission, adults $20, children $10. The Children's Evening Performance. It will be spectacular on May 11th, 2017 at the Dean William Lake Cultural Center, 6:30 p.m. Keeping the art of dance alive.
Hi, this is Dave Lester Payne. Join me every Monday through Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. with Connecting with Dave Lester Payne only on Observer Radio 91.1 FM. Connect with me as I connect you to Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the world.
Thank you for staying with us. Of course, it's Connecting with Dave Lester Payne. We are live. This is the 50th anniversary of Antigua Sailing Week, and Sailing Week will culminate on May 7th here in Antigua and Barbuda. And this will be the place that they'll be inside Nelson's Dockyard for Dockyard Day. It'll be quite an event. Andy Liebert told us about that. But I'm with the gentleman who knows so much about this area because of his expertise. Now, I want you to take me, let's just wrap up a little bit about the event down at Five Islands area. That area is called what? Deep Bay?
Oh, Deep Bay, yeah.
For the Songwind Project.
Yes,
That's Deep Bay.
That's Deep Bay.
Okay. So you've already cordoned off all the things that you
they're full clearance to build.
They have full clearance to build now. Now, take me to within the dockyard, the walls of the dockyard. You just, we were tagged World Heritage Site?
Yes, World Heritage Site.
Tell me about that.
It includes the dockyard, all the waters in English Harbour. The boundary goes straight up to Dow's Hill Fort, straight up to Blockhouse, and follows the coastline around and up to the Middle Ground Fort and back straight down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more or less the historical core of the national park.
Okay. Now, the Shirley Heights and those places are not included in it. They're included
Very
in
much
that.
so, yes.
The Interpretation Center
Yes.
is included in
Yes.
that also?
Yes.
Okay, so the entire acreage around this area.
The historical core, yeah.
And this, what did it take for us to get to that? And what's the value of being a historical site?
Well, I mean, it's an area that, you recognize. I think it was Thomas, what's his name, one of the presidents who said, a national park and a protected area is the best thing anyone ever came up with, the best idea anyone ever came up with.
The national parks, the protection of the national parks.
You put these sites up, up on the sort of a protected area status, and you use them for commercial as well as self-enrichment for your people. Here in Antigua, we have this area where you can come to. It's not just where you come to sort of watch a boat or where you come to the beach at Pigeon Point, but it's everything. You have your history, you have your culture, you have your events, you have the sailing, and you have the thing is, it's not just for now. This has been going on here for centuries. This is where Antiguans in this community learn to work on boats. Yes, some of them probably got a tail beaten to work on them boats, but so did the sailors on the boats. And so this unique culture that's called English Harbor. It's more than just the boats that come here. It's the people, it's the mindset, it's the environment. It's that's why English Harbor people, I think they want more seawater in them than blood because they're always at sea. Anyone you can walk through English Harbor, any male you pick up off the road can sail a boat. And it's unique to Antigua. And it's when I go through the historical records of people who worked in this place, which was a British naval facility, I see names that I recognize in the community up to now.
Wow.
So this is a part of it. So it's more than just a place. But English Harbor, it's a core part of Antigua. And things happen out here that's a little bit different to the rest of the island. And so it's a serious historical area. It's an area where it's sort of vibrant. I guess it goes totally quiet and sleepy in the summer, where we have to rest and sleep and get work done. But the guys still travel with the boats. They all work overseas on these same boats that come here. So it's a unique place. Now, the depth of history that happens here, it's the only place you'll find in the British Empire where the enslaved people worked on maintaining the British frigates. They even brought them into the harbor and took them out. They careened them, they repaired them, they fixed them and put them back out at sea. The British depended on the enslaved people. That's why most of them were actually given their freedoms. And so they depended on them to service their ships, to keep British goods
going.
To keep the fleet out there protecting the British shipping. And the goods flowing between here and Britain.
What was the transshipment like between Antigua and England in those days?
Slow.
I know slow because they're going on these slow boats. But what's the trade like, though?
Well, look at it this way. At the time of American War of Independence in 1776, Jamaica alone, one colony, was producing more wealth than all of the 13 colonies in the American states at that time.
Wow.
One island.
Jamaica.
Jamaica alone. And Barbados was probably nearly almost not matching, but probably halfway there. So Antigua was the base because it's sort of central. Ships from Antigua could go to the defense of Jamaica if they needed to because it's straight downwind. And same thing with Barbados. So Barbados became the administrative center because it had a much bigger population. Antigua became the base of naval operations and storage, let's say storage, but barracks, housing for soldiers waiting to be redeployed. And Jamaica almost was on its own so far in the Western Caribbean. So Antigua was strategically important for the British Navy. They had to keep Antigua at all costs. So that's why there's a fort every 2 miles around the coastline. And that's why they invested heavily. Because every building you see around here is post-1776.
Wow.
When they lost America, and at the same time they had lost most of the Caribbean islands, the British holdings, except for Jamaica, Antigua, and Barbados. They had to beef up what they had here to hold on to these colonies. And they knew the war was going to start again sooner or later. And so every building you see here was built between 1780 and 1790, up to 1800. All of Shirley Heights, and most of these, even these here are the last generations. There are only 1 or 2 buildings here goes before that, older than that. So there's a serious investment to defend this colony. The British Navy had to have a safe port in the Western Atlantic. Somewhere out here, they had to have a safe port. North America was now enemy country. So sailing past there, they were at risk. So you had to make sure your frigates are in good fighting order to get past the American colonies. They're now independent America. And then that's when Bermuda now started to come into its own because it was close to the American seacoast. So it gave them a chance, to sort of have a colony, almost like a thorn in the side of the newly independent American country. And Americans had fantastic sailors, they had fantastic ships. They had all the techniques because they were British at one point. They had all the techniques, the battle strategies and everything, except they built some really first-class boats that could beat a lot of the English boats.
Take me back to Jamaica when you said
Yeah.
that they were one of the biggest colonies as far as production is concerned.
Yeah.
And what were they producing?
Jamaica has such a variety and diversity. I mean, you're looking at the mountains, you're looking at midway. I mean, the verticality gives you the ability to grow and produce crops that you can't in any other island. Because we're flat, we can only do cane or one other thing. When you
Cane
have
or sugar.
Yeah, when you have mountains now, you can get into all these things from cocoa to coffee to everything and anything. Different types of fruit crops. They can even grow strawberries and I've seen raspberries grown in Jamaica.
And those things are being transported to England?
No. That's short term to people to support your own local economy.
Okay.
But sugar, rum, tobacco was the main concern. That's what they all wanted. Sugar, rum, and tobacco. And to some extent, cotton. But that was the big thing, sugar and rum. And all the islands could produce that, but mostly so from Jamaica, which had more land.
We've served such a unique purpose in the world, these islands of ours in the Caribbean Sea. Antigua and Barbuda played a major role as far as the development and continued development, safeguard to the British Empire. Here in Antigua and Barbuda, and the historical site that we now proclaim in this area, is there any other area in Antigua and Barbuda that can be built for that acclaim?
When you say for that acclaim...
No, we look at Fort James.
Yes.
We look at Fort Barrington.
Yes.
And all these areas.
You mean for as a World Heritage Site?
What needs to be done? Because having more than one can be a plus for us.
Oh, how you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
And the diversity and the differences between these. For example, Fort James alone, I keep saying, that could rival the English Harbour if they fix it up properly.
Rival English Harbour?
What do you mean? It's close to the main population center. A lot of people still pack their picnic baskets when they come to English Harbour, because they think they drive in to the end of the world. They only come out here when it's for sailing week
Occasions
or once
like
or twice.
this.
Yeah.
Occasion and Seafood Friday.
Yeah. When I tell them I go to town sometimes twice, they go, what? And they're shocked. But it's so it could create something that could attract people who don't normally come to this side on that side of the island. And you could have the same evening events you have out here. You could have a lot of I don't want to lose the business out here, but you could have, for example, like keep talking about the boardwalk where the old road used to be. Put a boardwalk there, like you have in New Jersey in these places, and they put lights and little small gazebos. But it has to be done tastefully, and so you can walk in the evening safely, and get the ice cream.
Fort James, that area that we just have there now,
and then put in
can be developed an economic stimulus
exactly
for the area.
And then put in some things like beach volleyball courts, maybe a small place for softball, cricket. And you can have venues for concerts and stuff. I think there's a master plan to do it. But I see these plans,
about that.
And they cram in too much. They put in too much. They say hotel, and I say this. We can't go from this H word up to now,
Yeah, we can't get away from the hotel.
You said it, not me. What we're doing for us, and let the tourists come and enjoy it with us.
So
put us first for a change.
Right, so we can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And of course, the folks who visit us, they'd like to associate with the local. And that way, of course, there's an engine of growth going on there with them and our visitors.
Exactly. I like to see the waterfront on the other side now. That little White's Bay.
Yes.
Put a small marina in there. You don't have to be right up on the shore. It can be like a system that goes out a little bit.
And there's lots of acreage down there.
Yeah, and we could have the smaller cruise ships and the overflow ones, like the Sea Clouds and some of those smaller ones that can't go into the big harbor. They can offload people there, and but keep the fort intact as a fort for what it is. And you can have, again, in Havana, the biggest attraction is the firing of the cannons at 9 o'clock every night.
In Cuba?
In Cuba. And people come from miles around just to see that, for that one event. We could have an event like that down there.
I've been there, and I've been when you would be surprised to know the amount of folks that would gather for that.
Exactly.
And
I
was
the same thing here.
saying, but there was other attractions there. It wasn't just that. There was other attractions.
To get people
the
out
folks
and
were
there.
selling things. You could buy things. You could get sample of food and all that. That is, of course, native to Cuba. And that area would be nice for that.
That's why I say, we have to start doing these kind of unique ways of thinking outside the box rather than thinking in the same standard pattern every time. A hotel here, a tea shop here.
What do you say to the policymakers? Do you get a chance
Nothing.
to speak to them?
No, sir.
Why?
They don't think to talk to me.
Why they wouldn't want to talk to you? The engine
I'm
of
considered to be a crazy man. So
no,
I mean,
the engine of couldn't be a crazy man that got here to be named the heritage site. Couldn't be a crazy man who did all the work of Clarence House that they're going to have the 5-star gala this evening. You got to be a sane person to be able to, of course, maneuver all those things that you've done in your while here.
Bear in mind that we have a very good team out here.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
well,
I mean,
it's all
fantastic
inclusive.
team, and that
yeah,
I think
well,
is
Anne-Marie
that's the secret to the success out here.
The secret to the
fantastic team that works closely together, and we can take on any challenge as
But
a
tell
team.
me, would the team here?
Yeah.
Can they then mimic some of the things that they have here for areas like Fort
do you
James
mean?
and those areas?
Yes, easily.
And would the
Look,
team here be
we
able
have-
to be deployed to do that, or they'd have to get another team?
No, we have a team we can do. We can take on all those challenges easily. Now they want us to move from here.
No, but I'm talking about for the development
Yeah,
of
and they can
it.
train other people.
Right.
I mean, what are the names? I keep hearing, me and Mrs. Martin and things like that. But there are two other people here who are the unsung heroes of this place.
Tell me about them.
Marius Smith.
I've heard of Mr. Smith.
He is on the waterfront, probably right now tying up a boat.
Yeah.
He's actually our restoration in the field man.
Yeah, I didn't
Assisted
I
by
interviewed
Michael
with him about
Flemius.
4 years ago. Yeah,
Assisted
Mr.
by
Smith.
Michael Flemius. And these are the guys who actually get out there, get the things going, organize the workers, get the materials. I come up with the ideas. I come up and say, this is how it should be done, restoration here, restoration there. But these are the guys who actually do the work. And I think we should really try and grab them on the radio station if you can one day. Because, these are the unsung heroes of English Harbor. The guys who sit quietly in the background, you never hear their voice. And we need to, get them more active in the media.
Yeah, so people can be aware.
Yeah, they have a lot to offer, but it's just that they don't like publicity, and it's
we have to find a way to get
Yes.
them so people can hear their story.
Yes.
And the fact is that they're part of the building process and development of this area.
two of the most important people.
Because this area, if you try to say, we have English Harbor, we know we have it. Now there's other areas in Antigua and Barbuda that needs the attention, development. You have the folks who have the skill. You get in the training units of having young people being part of it. But we have Fort James. There are other
Yes.
areas in Antigua
Bunks
and
Hill,
Barbuda.
which is very expensive though, Bunks Hill, Deep Bay,
But
Fort Barrington.
You said Monks Hill, and you
There's a
used the word-
beautiful little spot at Old Road. Whoever owns that land on this is in the gold mine, don't realize it.
Where's that?
Right after, before you get to, we have that beautiful view of Carlisle Bay and looking the other way, Curtain Bluff.
Yes.
Down that, there's a little sort of peninsula of land that goes out there. That used to be Old Road Fort. That is a really nice spot too, and there's nothing on that side of the island. If that was restored and done right, that could be a really nice venue for events, like, all sorts of events too. Because you have good anchorage in Carlisle Bay, and you have a good small community there. I mean, a fantastic spot for a good seafood Friday night, fry fish night.
Mhm.
Nothing
Well,
Friday
you have
though.
seafood
Not,
Friday
not
over
in
here.
Friday here,
So you
no.
have to do
You have to
another-
do it something else, yes. Let them invent something else.
You have to name it some. Well, of course, we have enough people in Antigua.
They can have
and
roast
Barbuda
chicken night or
can
something
make-
else.
Right. Or they can have ducks and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But here we are at Historical Nelson's Dock at Antigua Sailing Week, the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
There's a new dock out here. Of course, the one that the gentleman who was instrumental
Yes, he gave
in
us a soft
giving
loan
the
on that.
funds for the Clarence House.
Yes, same person.
yeah.
He's invested heavily in Antigua, right?
He won some races this year.
Yes, yes.
I think it was the first race. He won the race.
He gives a lot of scholarships. He funds the Sailing Academy. He gave us a loan to build that thing over here, the dock, which now has pushed us forward, in the marina business. He fully funded Clarence House. He just loves this island, Boy, I tell you, I wish I had people who love Antigua more like him. To empty your pocket for all those kinds of millions of dollars for a country that you don't have no real serious, you don't have to be. He could be anywhere in the world, but he chose Antigua.
And it seems to be a joy
Yeah,
for
yeah.
him
He
because every
seriously loves
time
this
you
country.
speak to him, you can hear the happiness coming out
Yeah.
of him that I've played a role in here. Because when I remember him saying that he was here looking up with Anne-Marie Martin. I can remember that story. They were just looking up, and that ruin was up there. And he wanted to be part of it. And Anne-Marie and yourself, because you were very instrumental in the refurbishing of that edifice that we have up there. And now we have it here today. But do we find other places? And maybe we'll find, his name is?
Sir Peter Harrison.
Sir Peter Harrison. There's more Peter Harrisons out there. What do we have to do to pin down the location?
Well, we found one for Betty Soap. Mellon, he came to our rescue at the last minute. And who's he trying to think of any other big donors? No, just those two. And Betty Soap, a small change compared to this. That's only $100,000 something.
Betty's Hope.
Yeah.
What's the state of affairs at Betty's Hope right now?
Well, it's one of these sites that is it's managed by volunteers. The museum looks after it. It's not officially under our it's not under the national parks. I'd love to see it become a national park so you can get the sort of input and development and management it needs. Because when you have volunteers, it's great for the first couple of years, but they lose interest and they disappear.
Yeah, because
And
they need to make something.
That's the problem with NGOs, sustainability.
We're going to take a break. We will return with more.
Antigua Sailing Week's 50th edition. 7 days of exceptional racing in various classes. Chase the race from the best locations. Party on the beach, a different one each day. Dance to soca, reggae, or to the beat of your own drum. 7 race days, 7 beach days, 7 party nights.
Are you up for the challenge?
The 50th edition of Antigua Sailing Week, April 29th to May 7th.
Book at sailingweek.com now.
What up? This is Al Linton. I love, live, and living it up.
We play a very important role as far as kids are concerned. A lot of kids look up to us, and we got to protect them especially, protect and respect them especially.
Yeah, man, this is Bogina Kente encouraging you to live up, live life, abandon the stigma, don't judge. You understand? Just love people, enjoy yourself. Blessed love, yeah?
Together, we can all erase stigma and discrimination and make the difference. So turn up the message now. Live up, love, protect, respect.
Hey, it's Bree. You're listening to The Weekend Shift, powered by Privé Social. Never be bored again. Privé Social, shifting you into the weekend, covering entertainment and nightlife on 91.1 Observer Radio. Every Friday from 6:30 to 8:30.
Connecting with Daveless Payne and the Evolution Drive Time every Monday to Thursday, 2 to 5 p.m. on Observer Radio 91.1 FM, connecting you to Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the world.
Thank you for staying with us. Just want to let you know that this is Connecting with Dave Lester Payne. And from time to time, tell your friends about it. Obviously, there's some problem with Facebook, but you can get us on YouTube, Antigua Observer Media Group. But of course, go right in there. You'll be able to view us. And during the process, while we're speaking with Mr. Reginald Murphy, we're doing some cutaways so you're able to see the activities on the dock side where the boats them are coming in after a race day. So we do hope that you're getting the images that capture those videos that we're showing you coming in, and while we're here talking about this site and other sites in Antigua and Barbuda. Mr. Murphy, cost is important.
Yes.
Two major donors, but we owe it to ourselves to find a way to continue refurbishing some of these things. I spoke to Mr. Blaze, and Mr. Blaze says you don't have to do the whole thing. You can do it in small pieces.
Yeah.
You have a site.
Stabilize it first.
Right. And then you can grow into it. In the meantime, you have apprentices who are learning the trade.
Yep.
You're developing an area where, even if it's a T-shirt you're selling, that's monies that are coming in to refurbish the other aspect of the building. Here you talk about the NGOs and volunteers. But of course, if we can make it a way that young people can have an earning, and not doing this and then going out looking a job to get some money. This becomes part of their daily activity, their daily work. It becomes part of their career. How do we get to that stage?
I think the first thing we need to do as a country is come up with a national inventory of sites. I mean, think about it. What do we have that are official heritage sites in Antigua? We can name the dockyard. Yes, it's officially registered. There's legislation. But start naming sites. Betty's Hope. Any other site you can think of? Fort James. The cathedral, yes. But are they officially, nationally registered historical sites, recognized by government as such? Do we have supportive legislation? So what we're working on is the OAS has been trying to encourage us to come up with a national inventory and have a national registry. Now, I have an inventory. Over the years, we've built up an inventory of all of these sites around Antigua. But somehow we have to get going as a country and decide what's the most important sites for us to be enshrined into Antigua and sort of a heritage legislation. Do we go to St. John's and pick out the odd buildings? We need to save some of those buildings in St. John's. But which ones? And then you have to now negotiate with the homeowners. What's in it for them? And so it's a matter of we have to first decide what and then come up with a plan and a policy to guide where we're going from that inventory. But then we can say, okay, which ones we're going to restore completely or which ones we're going to leave as ruin? Because UNESCO, they don't like restoration too much.
Because of the cost factor?
No, because it's not fully authentic. You can't recreate exactly the way it was. You can come close and you can, but it's never the same original building. It's a copy. Now, Clarence House is a copy of what was there before. But it's even a better copy than what was there before, a lot stronger and all sorts of things.
How did you guys accomplish that, though? We get right to the registry of, but that aspect, I've been there when you were doing work there, when the locals were working there. At first, you discovered things that they didn't plan to discover.
And that's always the case with restoration. It's always a surprise for you. People hide things, in the building to make it quick. Especially in those days.
Even in those days?
Especially in those days.
What were some of the things you discovered that, wow, I didn't realize that we were in for this?
First thing was that building has no foundation whatsoever. It's sitting on the ground as you see it there, bam. Just sitting on the ground.
How did they accomplish
that? You can take your finger and dig a hole under it. There's no foundation.
Didn't they have inspectors and all that?
Not in those days. And the next thing we discovered was a lot of those big, massive, beautiful walls. You build one row of stone on one side, 3 feet over, you build another row of stone, and you fill the middle with either rubbish or dirt.
But how did it sustain? How did it maintain its strength?
And that's when you get the trees now growing out of it. It splits open. You get a heavy rain. It leaches in. It washes out. And you have a big hollow cavity. And so the building started to collapse.
So you had Clarence House.
Yeah.
And the walls were filled with garbage and you name what?
Rubble.
Rubbers.
And
not the things that would have sustained the building. But how did it stay up so long before it started to decay?
I guess it had strong termites. But Clarence House is it was well built regardless because it's the sheer mass of the walls. It's like the copper lumber store. When you have walls that are 3 feet, 4 feet thick, no matter how you pack it with, what you pack it with, it's still going to stay because of the sheer mass. You don't want to be inside in a hurricane or earthquake, but the mass of it makes it heavy and solid. But when the wood timber starts to rot out, when the structure that keeps it square, when the roof goes, then those walls get very weak. And the first hurricane blow them over, as you see up at the top of Shirley Heights. Because they have no lateral stability. There's no reinforcing. There's no sort of internal mechanisms like we know of today. The floor, when it's at this floor level, they'll insert into the stone wall a 6x6 timber, running all the way around. When that rots out, it's like a gap. So it's like
there's nothing holding the stuff is ready to lean.
It blows right over.
Yeah.
It creates a serious weak spot. And all those buildings have that. So when you're doing it now, you have to do that again, but you have to factor in now, well, how am I going to keep this building together? This wall you'll see right in front of you, where that beam goes across. We can always find it. There's a beam that runs right through the middle, all the way, halfway through the entire building. It's a 6x6 timber. On top of that, you have brick. So all these cavities between the doors, the door frames, filled with brick.
With brick.
When that rot out, that big piece, heavy weight of brick is going to come down. And that's when you find you have problems, because you suddenly see a big crack. So you have to take apart all the brick. You can't just cut it out and patch it like you do in a modern house. You have to, it's a lot more work to take it all apart and put it back together again. And you have to use the correct lime and all that sort of thing. You can't
the
just
correct lime.
Lime mortar. You have to get
the
lime.
one that they would have used.
Yeah.
So you can't substitute that.
No, lime is lime. You have to use lime cement. And again, the way they built it, that door jamb is tied to the sill at the bottom and is tied to the plate of the roof. Right? And it's dovetailed in. So the whole thing is all tied together. They won't find the nails and that kind of in between here. It's all pegs, dovetails, and some serious joints, old-time joints that people don't cut nowadays.
Take me back to Clarence House, the discoveries that you made when you guys went in, because there's a lot of money that was spent in that place.
Yeah, we had to hold the building together. We had to put in a raft, the foundation. So the building's actually sitting on we cheated and put in a concrete slab so it gives it some lateral stability to stop the north side from settling more than the south side, etc. And then all the walls had to be rebuilt. We didn't plan to take the whole thing apart, but we had to. Everything was taken down and completely rebuilt. And now the next challenge we had was we had to take out all of the concrete beams that they had put in over the years. And because you have those hard, unmovable structures, and you have a fluid build inside of a fluid building, it'll actually knock it apart over time we get an earthquake. Though that solid concrete thing would act as a sort of a ram. And all sorts of other problems we develop with unequal settlement. Whereas these old line buildings like this, they move together. You'll see a crack in the system leaking one day, next day it's gone. Because it moves and it's a fluid.
It's alive.
They're amazing. So another big surprise we had was at the back, beneath it all, because we were told the building was built for King William in 1780s. And that building there is 1803.
1803?
Yeah. So we were thinking, well, there's no real Clarence house. It's all a big myth. But at the back, we found underneath now there's some bits of old foundation. And there's
that's the back of the structure.
Yeah, back of the kitchen. And there's an old cistern deep underneath there, deep on the ground. And so it shows that all of the cisterns and stuff that are there were built on top of something else. So there's an older structure beneath incorporated into that.
That cistern.
Yeah. So that could have been.
So they actually built on top of the old building.
And when we dug out the area there to put a gas thing and a generator, that area there, we found all kinds of pottery that predates the rest of the pottery we're finding for the rest of Clarence House. So the archaeology shows that there are two buildings actually there, one on top of the other.
So the artifacts that you found there
represent two time periods.
Okay, but did you have a chance to recover them so we could?
We got enough to sort of tell us a story. For example, and we have even better. We found a beautiful fragments of a beautiful jar pot when we were ripping out the floor to put in the slab. We found a beautiful pot, slave pottery in size, the same patterns that you see in Western Africa, in Ghana. And a friend of mine studied that. That's why I recognized it right off the bat. She did that for her dissertation, the African styles. And exactly the same pattern. It's like somebody from Africa came and dropped it there. And I guess somebody from Africa did come and drop it there.
They were living there?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
They probably was working
there. And they were making their own pottery while they were there. See, they had the knowledge, but they couldn't bring the stuff with them, but they could reproduce. So we were able to date that style with that time period too. So all these things, archaeology adds a big component and quality to the site. No matter how you look at it.
When we look at where we are, officers' quarters, what sort of work you guys did in this building?
We just maintain it.
Oh, just maintain
it? Maintenance. This was restored back in the 1960s, 50s. It was the users' apartments. People used to stay here. It was the bulk of the work you see. So we're just maintaining what we met. We've had to do some major work, moving walls and things, but people sort of chop up and put things where they feel like it as they modify. But a lot of those things are slowly being corrected. And we did a lot of work on this section here, the events center area here, and put it back to more what it was originally. And it's working really well, as you can see. This is the structure, the walls, everything is done the way it was.
How difficult, because but there were tenants in here. I know for a fact, this area, I think a restaurant was here.
Several restaurants were here.
in this area.
Yeah. But back in the 20s and 30s, all of this was a popular vacation spot for, I call it the wealthier Antiguans. I remember old Mrs. Jude telling me she used to come out here as teenagers. The three of them would come, and they spend a whole summer month. But they always brought a cook and what you call a seaman, some guy who come with a boat.
And go fishing.
And they'll go out and fish and catch fish and lobster, and the cook would cook it up for them right here in the lawn in the dockyard. And they'll stay up and sleep in these old buildings. And you see graffiti going through in the passageway there. So I know some of the shoals were here because they left their name there.
They left their name there?
They left their name. That's evidence. We can call the police for that one.
Well,
at least one shoal. And he left his name carved into the government property. So there is a lot of, this is a popular place for vacation. Okay. And I think it's this building here too. This building. Yeah. This is the building where they had the dance back in 1930s or 40s when they playing the song Hold me tight, we could kill somebody or something. You know the song?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. You tell me.
And then the floor collapsed.
It collapsed?
Yeah, they were
the
jamming.
officers' quarter here.
So one of these floors in here, they were jamming so hard the night. Everybody jamming, the whole floor broke in. And there's like 100,000 gallon cistern underneath this. But they didn't go in the water. They landed on the top of the thing. But there were quite a few people damaged, broken bones and things.
So there's
Anne-Marie, her mother was here, but
Anne-Marie.
don't tell I said so.
She's listening if she's not on a boat. So there's assistant on the
Yeah, this is underneath. This is water.
So this is the water source?
Except for the two ends, this is the main source of water for English Harbour Dockyard.
Wow.
Yeah, there's quite a few chambers. It goes all the way across.
Okay, good. We take a break. We'll be back with more. Quick. Before we go into Evolution Drive Time.
copy of your Daily Observer from our vendors: Esther at the Market, Frank on Corn Alley, Lenny at Dee's Service Station, Miss Thomas at Cedar Valley Corner, Scott by Harney Motors, Sean at Robinson Service Station, Shondell and Shittup by Quartz, Vernon at ARG Roundabout, Clark and King Progress at the airport, and most of the major supermarkets. Pick up your copy of the Daily Observer today for only $3.
We're about to wrap it up. You know, every time I'm with Mr. Murphy, when they told me I took a break a while ago, thought I had another 10 minutes. They tell me it's 4 o'clock. We gotta go. Mr. Murphy, thanks a lot for being with me today.
You're welcome.
We're wrapping it up on this beautiful day. You're still not hearing me? Good. They're hearing me now. Again, folks, time flies when I'm with Mr. Reginald Murphy. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Stay tuned for Evolution Drive Time. We will be right back here tomorrow. I'm out of here.
You've been listening to Connecting with Dave Lester Payne, bringing Antigua and Barbuda and the world to your front door on Observer Radio 91.1 FM.